Although he is now waiting his death sentence in prison, Dylann Roof left his mark on our society in a truly shocking manner. On June 17th of 2015, Roof walked into the Emanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in North Carolina. Then he started shooting people. When the dust cleared, there were 9 dead and 1 injured. To be clear, this kill count isn't that high compared to some of the deadliest shootings in US history. In comparison, Stephen Paddock allegedly killed 58 people in the infamous Las Vegas shootings of 2018. But the sheer number of fatalities isn't what made Dylann Roof's actions so horrifying. The reason we're still talking about this attack today is because it was clearly racially motivated. Roof went to that church specifically because he wanted to kill black people. But what led this young man to such a terrible decision? What actually happened when he walked into that church? And what did Dylann Roof have to say for himself when he was interrogated by police? Let's find out. Dylann Storm Roof was born on April 3rd of 1944 in Columbia, South Carolina. Raised by working-class parents along 2 siblings, he spent time in Florida Keys for a brief period. In 2009, Roof's father divorced his second wife, and court documents from the separation mention Dylann's obsessive-compulsive behavior, including a fear of germs. Outside of that, Roof was a fairly normal kid. He smoked weed, played video games, and dropped out at 9th grade, although he later obtained his GED. There are even reports of Roof having black friends at school, and a GQ article claimed that at one point, his closest friend was a mixed-race boy named Caleb. After graduating, he lived with his parents and struggled to commit to a regular job. This was when people started to become concerned. Family members described him as socially withdrawn during this period, and he apparently spent most of his time getting high and playing video games. However, he was also absorbing white supremacist ideology and forming some very strong opinions about black people. In 2015, Roof started to have trouble with local police. First, he was questioned after acting suspiciously in a mall. Police later discovered that he was in possession of Suboxone, and he was charged with a misdemeanor for possession. He was then discovered with various components of an AR-15 rifle, although he was not charged because it was not a complete firearm. At 8:16 p.m. on June 17, 2015, Dylann Roof walked into the church. Video surveillance captured the moment. At the time, people inside the church were engaging in a Bible study.
I want to show you the video. This is just into CNN. New video from inside this church, the Emanuel AME Church. And there it is. It's a Snapchat from the feed as this Bible study is going on.
Dylann didn't open fire at first. Instead, he joined the meeting and discussed scripture with the congregation. After about an hour had passed, Roof stood up, pulled out his Glock 41 handgun, and told them he had to do this. One individual tried to talk him out of it, and when that failed, he tried to dive towards Roof in order to disarm him. The individual was the first to be shot. After this moment, the true massacre occurred. Dylann apparently started shooting brazenly into the crowd while shouting racial slurs. He also reportedly said, "Y'all want something to pray about? I'll give you something to pray about." He had gone prepared with 8 magazines filled with hollow point rounds. During the attack, he reloaded his firearm 5 times. Hiding underneath a table, one of the victims managed to call 911.
He shot the pastor, he shot all the men in the church. Please come right away. He's still in here. I'm afraid he's still in here. God, please help me.
Okay.
Please help us, Lord. She's a young 21-year-old white dude. Please, and we got some people very hurt, please.
Okay, are you able to get yourself to safety?
No, I'm still under the table.
The attack lasted for approximately 6 minutes, and when it was over, Dylann approached a woman and told her that she was being spared so that she could tell people what had happened. His initial plan was to commit suicide immediately after the attack, but he ultimately decided to flee the scene instead. The church's camera captured the moment when Roof exited the building. Later, a survivor recounted her experience during the fateful night in South Carolina.
I was hoping everybody wouldn't die. I was praying that nobody would die. Dylann Roof came in, quiet, sitting there quietly. We thought maybe he was a college Charleston student or something, because we would have them come in periodically. He started shooting the Bible study group.
Immediately after the shooting, a bomb threat was called in which hampered the police response, but Dylann was eventually tracked down the next morning and arrested during a traffic stop. Dashcam footage shows exactly what happened during the arrest.
Obtaining new video showing the arrest of Dylann Roof in North Carolina about 14 hours after he opened fire inside a historic black church in Charleston, targeting African Americans, murdering 9 innocent people.
Funny enough, it was Dylann's trademark bowl cut that gave him away. Another driver saw him, recognized his haircut, and immediately called the police. Not long after the arrest, Dylann was interrogated by police.
Well, can you tell us about what happened last night?
Well, yeah, I mean, I went to that church in Charleston, and, I did it.
You did what? Well, I mean, I know it's tough sometimes to say.
It's not that I don't want to say it because I don't want to make myself seem guilty. I just don't really like saying it.
But I know sometimes we have to face those things, the realities.
We don't want to put any words in your mouth. That's why.
Right.
That's why Agent Stansbury just was asking you what it exactly is that you did do.
Well, I did. I killed him. Oh, well, I guess. I mean, I don't really know.
Well, I
don't know how many people or anything like that.
So did you shoot him?
Yes.
What kind of gun did you use?
A Glock 45.
If you've watched our videos before, you know that most murderers vehemently deny all wrongdoing during police interviews. Dylann Roof is a unique case because he seems to have no problem telling the officers he did it. He goes on to say that he was amazed that the churchgoers didn't notice that he was bringing a firearm into the building.
When I walked in the church, this thing was right on me, in front of me, And I was like, oh my God, they're gonna see it, And obviously they did, because I mean, this thing is big, it's heavy, because it's got, 7 magazines, and I put 11 bullets in each magazine. They can hold 13, but I didn't want it to jam or anything like that. So, but anyway, it's still really heavy. Anyway, they saw it, but I just sat down because I guess they just didn't say anything. And then I was sitting there and I was like, just thinking about whether I should do it or not. And that's why I was sitting there for 15 minutes, just like, because I know I could have just walked out, because they didn't say anything to me about the thing on my belt. So I could have walked out, and that's what I was just thinking, But then I just, I don't know, it's like, you want to say spur of the moment, but I just finally decided I had to do it.
Next, the detective asks Dylann the most important question, the question that everyone has been asking themselves after the attack. Why did he do it?
I had to do it because somebody had to do something. Because, black people are killing white people every day on the streets. And they rape white women, 100 white women a day. That's an FBI statistic from 2005. That's 10 years ago. It might even be more now, who knows. It sounds unrealistic, but you break it down, that's 2 a state. It's really not unrealistic at all. It could probably be more. The fact of the matter is, what I did is so minuscule to what they're doing to white people every day, all the time. And just because that doesn't get on the news doesn't mean it's not happening. Everybody knows that the news is biased for black people. We can pretend it's not, but we know it is.
Dylann, when you said you had to do this, so basically what you're...
I had to do it because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is brave enough to do anything about it. Back in the late 80s and the early 90s, we had skinheads and stuff like that. There's no skinheads left. There's no KKK. KKK never did anything anyway.
So basically you were trying to make a statement or prove a point on behalf of the white race. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in a way.
And there you have it. Dylann Roof shot those people because he believed he had no other choice but to make a stand for the white race. Those aren't our words, we're just telling you what he believed prior to carrying out the attack. The investigators are probably surprised that Roof is being so open about all of it. They press him for more information and ask why he chose to carry out the attack in Charleston.
I like Charleston. It's really nice down there. And, it's a historic city, At one time, I think it had the highest ratio of black people to white people in the whole country. When we had slavery, but and then the other reason is just because that AME church was historic too. It was an historic AME church. I guess that's pretty much the reason.
Next, police ask him exactly what happened when he started shooting.
So you shot through, you had, essentially I said you put like 10 or 11 bullets in each magazine? So,
Right.
So the gun wouldn't malfunction with misfeed or whatever, right?
Right.
And so you reloaded, you shot and reloaded 7 times, or am I right? One of the magazine, and reloaded, yeah, because the last one you took with you. You shot.
Right.
One that was in there, shot it. Went through 6 more magazines shooting, and then reloaded. Did you? So, but by that time, people that were already down, did you walk up and shoot them that had already, went to the fellows down?
It was sort of complicated because they were all like under the tables. You see what I'm saying? It's not like I was like going around shooting people that were already dead or anything like that. It's just when I shot a magazine, it's like I just went pop, 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 pop. You see what I'm saying? Like at one person. You see what I'm saying?
So when you started shooting, I guess you say you were so quick shooting, it was like maybe they didn't even see where it was coming from.
Right. Well, the first shots.
And they all dove under the table.
Right. Everybody dove under the table.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
And then you went around the tables just shooting them.
No, not exactly. Because there's some people that I didn't shoot. I think there was 2 people that I didn't even shoot at all. Like one woman was over here, and I didn't even shoot her at all, because she was like looking at me and stuff.
So you didn't shoot that one woman because she was looking at you. But I understand it's hard to shoot somebody when they're looking at you, right? I mean, it is.
It's hard to shoot somebody anyway.
Right. But the other people, so were they shooting them in the back or just wherever they were, however they were?
Right, just however they were laying, I guess.
Like multiple times. So the first magazine, if I'm reading right, you pull out, you just start shooting. You go through that very quick. Everybody dives under the table.
Right.
You then reload the magazine. Do you just get up and start going around as people are under the table just shooting?
Yeah, but I was sort of pacing around, because I was like freaking out a little bit too. You know what I mean? It's not. There was pauses in between, thinking about, what I should do and stuff. But I guess in a way, I guess you could say that's what I was doing.
But did anybody try and run, or did it fall under the table?
See, I thought everybody was going to try to run out the door, but nobody did. They all went under the table.
And nobody charged you to try and stop you?
No.
All right. And we'll come back more, but so you go through, the one woman you didn't shoot at all, she looked at you. And then there was another person you said you didn't shoot at all. Was that a woman or a man, or?
Yeah, I think it was a woman.
Okay. Did she look at you too, or?
No, she wasn't looking.
Why didn't you shoot?
I mean, she might have got shot. I'm not saying she didn't get shot, but I'm saying I didn't aim at her and shoot.
Okay. Was there a reason why you didn't aim at her and shoot?
No, I can't really say a reason.
Okay, so after you shoot, do you leave all your magazines laying on the ground?
Yes.
Except for you put a fresh one in, so your 8th magazine you load.
Right.
So you leave the bag there, you've got the gun. What do you do next?
Dylann later confirmed that his plan was to commit suicide after the attack.
See, when I walked out that door, I peeked out the door. Because I thought there was going to be somebody there ready to shoot me, you know what I'm saying? So, that's really why I had the last magazine. Is not to shoot cops, it's so I could shoot myself. You see what I'm saying? When I saw a cop.
So you had it. So if the law enforcement would have showed up, you were going to go ahead and just...
Yeah, I wasn't going to ever shoot at a cop. I was going to shoot myself. But anyway, like I said, there was no cop. So I just got in my car and then I just drove out of Charleston, onto the interstate.
Somewhat ironically, it's difficult to get clear answers out of Dylann because he's so matter-of-fact and nonchalant about his crime. The detectives attempt to dig a little deeper into his ideology.
Do you think, like, what you did last night, do you think that helps to maybe... Are you trying to start a revolution to where other people say, hey, it's time to stand up, and if everybody does this? You know what? You understand what I'm saying?
I'm not delusional. I don't think, that something like what I did could start like a race war or anything like that, But
I mean, would you like that? I mean, would that help?
Yeah, well, a race war would be pretty terrible,
Yeah.
People dying all the time.
Yeah, it would.
But, I'd rather just, just be able to like reinstate segregation or something like that, without there having to be a race war. But, there probably will be a race war eventually.
But just segregation, right? I mean, it's all.
I mean, that would be okay with me for right now, but like I said, that's sort of unrealistic. That black people aren't just going to let themselves, go back into segregation. Not that segregation was bad, it wasn't.
How long have you felt this way? I mean, I guess my question is, was there ever a time where you...
Right, well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The first thing that, I guess I could say, I would say woke me up, would be the Trayvon Martin case, and that was a while back.
Right.
What was it, 2 years ago, And, I kept hearing about this kid, and I'm like, eventually I decided to, look his name up, just type him into Google, you know what I'm saying? And then I read the Wikipedia article about Trayvon Martin, and I couldn't understand what the big deal was, you see what I'm saying? And then, for some reason, after I read that, I typed in, for some reason it made me type in the words black on white crime, and that was it, ever since then.
So prior to that, you really didn't think too much about black and white relations or white and black relations?
Right, well, I mean, obviously, you live in South Carolina, there's so many black people here, every white person in South Carolina probably has at least a little bit of racial awareness, naturally, because there's so many black people, but it's superficial, you see what I'm saying? It's no real understanding behind it.
Right. So basically, after the Trayvon Martin incident, you said it woke you up, and you did a little bit of research.
Right.
And after you researched that, and you started looking at, you said black on white crime, is that correct?
Right.
So what happened after that? If you could, just carry me through you studied that, were there other research topics that you looked into?
Well, then I found out, like I said, what was happening in Europe. In a lot of ways, it's even worse over there than it is here. London's only 60% white. You know, we've got so many Muslims over there in Europe. They're being swamped. There's going to be a race war in Europe too, I bet. You know, France, they don't even take demographics.
As you can see, Dylann Roof adopted these extreme views after conducting internet research, looking into a variety of race-related issues. The interview progresses, and the police ask Roof another important question. Does he feel any remorse?
How do you feel personally about it? Are you glad you did it?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm glad I did it, you know, but I've done it, so.
You said it was something you had to do?
Yeah, I have to do it.
If you could back up, would you do it again? I mean, that's how strongly you felt about this issue, right?
Well, at the moment, you know, if I could back up to where I was just still sitting at the table thinking about walking out, I might walk out, I'm not going to lie. But, you know.
There's a hint of remorse there, but Dylann expresses himself in such a jovial, casual manner that it's difficult to say whether he truly regrets his actions. At this point, Dylann isn't even aware of how many people he shot, or how many people he actually killed. In fact, he doesn't even know if anyone died from their gunshot wounds. The investigators make sure he knows the truth.
If I told you 9 people died last night, how would that make you feel?
And I wouldn't believe you.
There was 9.
There wasn't even 9 people there.
There was just a little bit over 9. But it's hard when you're looking at the tables to judge people.
You said when you went in there, you said it could have been 6, 8. You really weren't certain. You know.
Are you guys lying to me?
No, we're not.
8 people were dead at the scene. 2 were rushed to the hospital. So I guess it was 10 people were shot. Actually had gunshot injuries. That's my understanding. The 9th person died at the hospital, but 8 people were dead on the scene when they showed up. I mean, so how do you feel?
In all honesty.
Well, it makes me feel bad.
But also, but it's critical symbol. I mean, your mission was to kill black people. I mean, you killed 9 black people.
You said earlier that you, just to recap, after watching the Trayvon Martin, you got upset. You started doing research. You said you could have done it in Columbia, but you chose not to. You picked out that particular church because of the historical meaning behind the church. You actually drove out to the church. There was a black lady, you said, getting into her car as you were walking by, and you found out that there was going to be a Bible study there. So you knew that there was going to be a large concentration of black people at the study. You said you went into the study. So you thought about this. You finally made the decision. You had your weapon. You said maybe April or so is when you got the weapon. So now you had your weapon. You said you bought 2 different boxes of ammunition, one at one, possibly one Walmart, one at the other. So you didn't buy it all at one time, but you over 77 rounds over time you collected. You brought that.
And once again, Dylann shows signs of remorse. There's really nothing else for the detectives to ask Dylann about. He confesses to the crime within minutes of the interview, and he has made his views and motivations quite clear. Toward the end of the interrogation, one detective asks Roof a very interesting question.
Well, if you could talk to or say anything to the victims' families, what would you say to them? If they were like right across the table from you, you know, they want answers. I mean, and you've told us your answers. I mean the answers is a why. I mean, and you've told us that. But what would you tell them?
Would you be able to tell them that you shot their family member because of the reason you told us?
No way.
No.
I can't say that to them. I probably couldn't even look at them.
There's no denying that Dylann is a strange character. In many respects, He seems like a quiet, polite young man, but that demeanor contrasts considerably with his actions. This contrast makes him seem unsettling and thoroughly disturbing. Dylann Roof was eventually charged with 9 counts of murder and 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime. The trial was highly emotional, and Roof made history by becoming the first person to face both a state and federal death penalty. No footage of the trial was ever released, as it was conducted entirely in private. Amazingly, some of the victims' family members said that they forgave Dylann due to their Christian beliefs. In 2016, Roof decided to fire his lawyers and represent himself. However, he eventually rehired his old defense team. In 2017, he was formally sentenced to death. His defense team eventually attempted to show that Dylann was mentally incompetent, something that Roof was apparently unaware of. He later stated that he didn't want to rely on an insanity defense because everybody would think that he was a weirdo. During the trial, part of his manifesto was revealed to the court. Here is one notable excerpt. "I have no choice. I am not in the position to, alone, go into the ghetto and fight. I chose Charleston because it is the most historic city in my state, and at one time had the highest ratio of blacks to whites in the country. We have no skinheads, no real KKK, no one doing anything but talking on the internet. Well, someone has to have the bravery to take it to the real world, and I guess that has to be me." In most murder cases, there are plenty of unanswered questions even after a conviction. But the same cannot really be said for Dylann Roof. He made it very clear why he chose to carry out this attack. He never attempted to deny what he did, and he pled guilty in court. Somehow, these factors make his crime even more difficult to understand. The fact is, Dylann simply wanted to kill black people. In order to figure out why this is the case, you would need to determine the root cause of racism itself. So why are people racist? What causes a young man like Dylann Roof to believe that he has no choice but to carry out such a horrific hate crime? That is a mystery that will perhaps remain unsolved for the rest of human history.